Abdullah Ocalan, the imprisoned leader of Turkiye's outlawed Kurdistan Workers Party, has said in a letter the group should lay down its arms and dissolve itself. Turkiye, the US and the EU designate the group a terrorist organisation. But who is Ocalan, and does his voice still matter? Rory Challens has more.
Abdullah Ocalan, apo to his supporters, is the founder of the Kurdistan Workers Party, the PKK. Turkiye, the US and the EU designate the group a terrorist organisation, and its members have fought against Turkiye since 1984, a conflict that's killed more than 40,000 people. What started as a fight for Kurdish independence later shifted towards demands for autonomy and expanded rights. In 1999, Turkish intelligence forces captured Ocalan in a covert operation. He was sentenced to life in prison and is detained in a high-security prison on Imrala Island off the Turkish coast. But even behind bars, Ocalan remained an important figure. His messages influenced ceasefires, PKK strategy, and even political negotiations. His most significant role was during the 2013-2015 peace process. Through indirect talks with Turkish officials, he called for a ceasefire. Hopes were high, and the PKK began withdrawing its fighters. But the process collapsed in 2015, and rising tensions, regional conflicts, and political shifts fueled renewed violence. At the same time, Kurdish fighters were making hard-won territorial gains against ISIL in Syria. The PKK and a US-backed coalition called the Syrian Democratic Forces defeated ISIL. But peace remained elusive. PKK attacks against Turkish security personnel continued into 2016. And that year, Turkiye launched a major military operation into Syria in what it says was an effort to secure its border. Turkish forces crossed into northwestern Syria, driving Kurdish fighters out of border cities. It was the first of several operations. Nearly a decade later, Ocalan has called on his fighters to lay down their arms. It follows a direct appeal from Devlet Bahçeli, a prominent nationalist politician who's close to the Turkish government. His proposal gained traction, particularly after the overthrow of Syria's Bashar al-Assad. A delegation from the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic and Equality Party was granted permission to visit Ocalan in prison to convey the messages. But after years of war, shifting alliances, and Turkiye's growing military presence in northern Syria, the question remains, does Ocalan's voice still carry the same weight? Rory Challens, Al Jazeera.
Well, for more, we go now to Sinem Kosioglu, who joins us from Istanbul. And what's been the response so far to Ocalan's letter?
Yes, Ocalan's letter actually carries a historical importance, as it is not the first time that he has called on laying arms to his organization, but it is the first time he is asking for dissolving the organization by convening the Congress of the PKK, which consists of dozens of factions within. The call from Abdullah Ocalan to lay down arms came after the Turkish Nationalist Movement Party leader Devlet Bahçeli, who is a strong ally of the government, and the ruling AK Party leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan, made a call for him to lay down arms to end the conflict. It happened in October. No one was able to understand why the Nationalist Party leader, who had been totally against the peace process a few years ago that collapsed, was making this call. But apparently after Bashar al-Assad regime was gone, the Turkish government was terrified that a possible Kurdish independent entity within Syria on the eastern side of the Euphrates River, run by PYD and YPG, could be an example. That's why this Kurdish problem, Kurdish issue, the PKK issue, must be resolved ASAP. This is what the government must have thought, according to many. So now Abdullah Ocalan's call is very important, as he called on to lay down arms, And this makes the pro-Kurdish party, the People's Democratic Party, the DEM, more significant in the Turkish politics, and he is asking for his supporters to find solution within in the arena of democracy. He mentioned that when he established the PKK, it was the Cold War time, things were different, and the Turkish state back then didn't respect the Kurdish rights, but now things have changed. The geographical landscape, the geopolitical landscape has totally changed, and armed conflict, armed resistance is not a solution to any problems, according to his letter. That's why he supports he advises his supporters to take a position in the politics and struggle for their rights and coexist with the Turkish people. So now many are curious whether the PKK is going to listen to him. Most of the analysts who are close to the subject say that they will definitely listen, but what will happen to those armed fighters is a question mark that is waiting to be answered.
OK, thank you so much, Sinem. Sinem Kosioglu there for us in Istanbul. Well, staying with this story, we're going to go now to Galip Delay, who is a senior consulting fellow at Chatham House and a non-resident senior fellow at the Middle East Council on Global Affairs. He joins us from London. Thanks very much for being with us. First of all, can you just put this into context for us? How significant is this letter and what, if any, effect do you think it's actually going to have?
This is very significant. This is probably one of the most transformative events that is happening in the Middle East for quite a long time, if it succeeds, because this is like an important if, because this is just at the beginning, the process of laying down the arms, terminating the armed conflict in Turkey, the transformation of the armed politics into completely democratic and civilian politics is going to take time. But if it is successful, this is going to redefine the course of the Turkish politics that will get Turkey free of its shackles, that will get like one of the major foundations for crippling of the rights and liberties in the countries. But it will also redefine the Turkish relation with the regional Kurds and then the internal politics of the many neighboring states. Syria is the case in point right now. One of the major issues right now is the new form of the relationship between the Syrian Kurds and the new administration. If this process, if Öcalan's call is heeded by the different components of the PKK, and if the process moves forward, that will make this negotiation, this talk, relatively easier. It still will be very significant. It still will have a very difficult subject, but atmosphere will be better.
Well, a chance that he will be listened to, that a number of his fighters and PKK supporters will actually follow through and put down their arms.
I think like no one can come openly and oppose it. So that's the first thing that we have to bear in mind, because Öcalan, there is no second person in the PKK after Öcalan. It's Öcalan, and anyone that comes afterward probably will come out like 100, number 100 or 105. So in this regard, no one is going to oppose it in person. But nevertheless, we might see the developments that will be very much inimical to this and that can undermine it, both in Syria or elsewhere. But nevertheless, right now, no one is going to oppose it because the societal foundation, the Kurdish embrace of this and the acceptance of it by the Turkish politics is very high.
This could be hugely significant then for the security and stability in the region, couldn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is, as I said, like if it is successful, this is one of the rare bright spots in the region that has been marked by crises, by conflicts. This is transformative in terms of the future of the regional Kurdish politics, the nature of the Kurdish issue and Turkish politics inside Turkey, and the nature of Turkey's relation with the regional Kurds, but also how Turkey relates and positions itself within the broader regional politics.
Why now? Why did he write this letter and put it out now, calling not only for people, the armed groups, to lay down their arms, but to dissolve itself as well?
Absolutely, absolutely, because Öcalan makes it crystal clear that the international and national context within which that PKK was born is no longer relevant. PKK is one of the Cold War organizations. The Cold War ended, and the PKK is still been around, and it's becoming an anomaly. So in a sense, the factors, the foundation, the regional international context that gave birth to PKK has drastically changed, and therefore the PKK also have very difficult to find a reason to exist as an organization.
What are the implications now for Turkiye-Syria relations?
Well, I think the main implication will be how this is being heeded and how this will be followed by concrete steps, both from the PKK's different groups, be it in Kandil or the affiliate groups in Syria or the one in Europe. So that will be the first observation. But the most important change will be the atmospheric change in Syria, both between Turkey's approach to the Syrian Kurds, but also the Syrian Kurds negotiation with the central administration. So the atmospheric change will be very significant in this process. And right now, this call is doing exactly this, the atmospheric change in the relationship. And the Syria will be the testing ground of this new call.
Okay, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your insight. Galip Dalai for us there. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.